Africa Manifesto. We're unpacking the manifesto. We're going through all the nitty gritties and making sure that you understand what will Arise South Africa be doing, what are we hoping to achieve, and exactly what is Arise South Africa all about. So make sure that you've got your notepad out. Make sure you're ready to take notes. Make sure you've got the book. This is the book that we're all going through. Make sure that you've got it. And yesterday was so powerful. We saw so many amazing comments, people saying that they're learning something new. And that's what we aim to do, to make sure that you learn about your own country. So we're here to study. We're here to learn. Welcome to all the leaders of Arise South Africa. Now, yesterday, we went through the history of South Africa. We understood what we are, or who we are, rather, as a people. We understood the resistance, the struggle, what brought us to where we were. And it was a very emotional day. And today we aim to get to mineral resources. What is Arise South Africa proposing should be done when it comes to the minerals of South Africa? So I hope you are ready. I hope you're ready to learn. I hope you have your notepad out. Let's go right in without wasting any time. Now, I said to you that there was a very big struggle in South Africa where Black people were oppressed for a very long time. And there was a time where they introduced taxes, and that's where we ended yesterday. If you haven't watched part one, go and watch part one so that you understand what we're discussing. Part two today. Part one is available on YouTube. We have it, it's still there. Go and watch. Today, let's continue. Where we began to see resistance when Black people were resisting. This is in the 1900s. Black people began to uprise and resist the force of the regime of that specific day. And what we began to see is that regime of that day set up to start collecting taxes from Black people. And they planned on burning or taking their houses. They planned on taking their flocks or their herds. They also planned on arresting and abusing them, even taking them as slaves for not paying taxes. And there was a man called Mbambata. Umbambata was in KwaZulu Natal, and he refused the regime of that day, the colonialists of that day. He refused to pay taxes to them. And what they did to Bambata is that they went forth and they killed him. And they took his head and they put his head on a horse. And they went around the communities showing every Black person that the person who resisted the colonialists from taking taxes, the person who resisted them, they have killed. And that was called the Mbata Rebellion in 1906 in KwaZulu-Natal. And that was unfortunately his death. And it was a sign to instill fear amongst Black people, to say if they don't pay taxes, if they don't follow the regime of the day, they would be killed just as Umbabata was killed. Now, this racial segregation, land dispossession, it continued. And in 9 Act, and that Land Act basically came in to dispossess the African people of their land and also to segregate them. It actually allowed the indigenous people, or rather, it brought in a regime that indigenous people got their land taken away from them. And what we began to see that tribal divisions were exploited by the colonialists. Because as Africans began to rise and say, you know what, we can't allow people to be killed. We can't allow these colonialists to take over the land and kill our people. They began to uprise. And as they did so, what colonialists quickly did is they started to divide the people amongst themselves. Let me tell you one of the strategies they did. They would come in and they would choose a tribe. For example, they would choose maybe the Zulu tribe. It's an example. And the rest of the 11 tribes in South Africa would say, but why are the colonialists working or teaming up with the Zulus? And what would begin to happen is people began to betray each other's tribes, and they began to become tribalistic in South Africa. This thing of tribes and people hitting each other, it did start because Africans was like that. No. As were very peaceful people that lived together in peace. It started because the colonialists began to plant that seed by doing what? By bringing in certain tribes and excluding the others. So automatically those tribes began to say, but why is this tribe part of the colonialists? Why are they ruling with the colonialists? Why aren't we there? And we began to see this fighting going on. These fights began to disrupt and began to happen. And even till today, we suffer tribalistic wars and tribalistic hatred in South Africa because of what the colonialists did. It didn't start, it wasn't natural. It's uncommon for Africans, especially along tribal lines, Zulu, Xhosa, Venda, Tsonga, all these tribal lines. It's uncommon for us to not be united. But the colonialists wanted to do so. It was divide and conquer. That's the strategy that they were using there. And, as we begin to see this, we began to see an uprising amongst Black people, where that's around 1910. Black people uprising and saying, remember, we are studying with history. We are first understanding where did this begin, to understand what is Arise South Africa trying to do, what are we trying to implement. We then saw the formation of what was called the South African Native National Congress, SANNC. And this was later then known as the African National Congress. So the African National Congress didn't just start as the African, it started off as the South African Native Congress. And these were people that came together and said, we can't just watch as people, as we see all this division. They said, we saw people like Mabata stand up and they were murdered, and they was paraded around Black communities to scare all Black people to say, we're going to rule over you, these colonialists were saying. So a resistance began, and that's where we began to see young leaders arise within the nation. We began to see people like Robert Sobukwe begin to arise. We began to see in the 1940s, we began to see a more aggressive ANC Youth League, where we began to see the likes of Anton Lambete. We began to see Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu. These played a vital role in the resistance, in what we call the liberation movement. They were aggressive. They said, we can't allow colonialists to come and take our land and abuse our people and kill our people. We are going to stand up and fight this. And we all know what then happens after that. We saw that the ANC then came in and won. And we are where we are today. So we started off with history so that we understand where the nation comes from, so that when we move forward from understanding. But remember what we pointed out yesterday, that the most sophisticated people in the world were Africans. That sophistication started in Africa, in Mapungubia, where we were mining gold and iron, and we were exporting and trading with China and India. So sophistication did not start with Europe. It started with Africa. And that was very important that we talk about that. Now, how are nations built? The nations that we see today, how are they built? How did all this civilization come into? What actually happened for these nations in the world that exist today for it to actually happen? It didn't just happen overnight. No, there were things that actually happened. And the first happening were basically the mechanization of production, or rather the vast steam engine or steam power was used. This is the first time we see Europe developing itself. Remember, this is a very long time after Africa had been developed. Don't believe the lie. Arise South Africa stands for the truth. Africa was developed first before Europe. Europe only came upon the first industrial revolution much later on, while Africa had actually been developed. So Africa was developed around the 12th century. So many years, hundreds of years before Europe was actually developed, Africa, we saw signs of development. Then in the 18th century, Europe then began to develop. And what we saw there was what they call the first industrial revolution. And that's where we saw handcraft sort of change to factory. So where people used to actually create things with their hands one by one, we then saw factories begin to develop. And then we saw power sources with the steam engine. This was water. And what we began to see is the overpopulation of workers. So people developed the steam engine. People then began to develop factories, and we began to see the first industrial revolution, which brought about wealth for a nation. So England became very wealthy because they then started to assemble factories, they started to assemble power stations, they started to do all these things. But really, where the basis of the industrialization came forth was actually the steam engine. Now, it took Africa 60 years for us to develop the first steam engine after Europe had developed it. So when it came to the steam engine, Africa was a little bit behind. We were 60 years behind. But remember, it does not mean that we were not developed. No, we had developed in other ways where we were mining gold and silver. However, at this level, we were not that exploiting workers or actually using factories, etc. We were doing this as communities and as tribes, Africa. Now, many people argue and say the reason why Africa is so poor today is because it took us a while for us to become developed, like how all other countries became developed. So people are saying that Africa only came on board with the first industrial revolution long after other countries had actually gotten it. Now, what we began to see in the chain line of development, remember, we are going with the journey of understanding what has happened so far and what to do to change it. We then saw a change, saw mass production and oil and electrical machines. This is where we saw the second industrial revolution. And here we began to see countries develop different. So we began to see an assembly line and mass production. Basically, manufacturing really began in the second revolution, the 1800s, where we began to see assembly lines, mass production of things. Oil was now being introduced, electricity was being introduced, electricity machines, electrical machines as well, and people needed less labor to do certain things because there had now been a new revolution. And what we saw is the countries that embraced each of these revolutions, they became the biggest and the best in terms of production, in terms of wealth and power as well. Second industrial revolution, we saw a whole lot of different things. And one of the interesting things we saw was actually the aeroplane. And it took 60 years before the aeroplane actually came to Africa as well. So Africa had been behind when it also came to the second industrial revolution that saw all these things. And you can see electricity is one of them. And unfortunately, we are still busy with electricity, load shedding. So we are behind when it comes to these industrial revolutions. So if we are going to talk solutions, we also need to be real about where we are at the moment and how we move forward. And we then saw what we call the third industrial revolution. Here we saw the digital revolution and robots also coming into play. But more specifically, we began to see, started in 1970, digitization, automation, computers, mobile software, internet, and robotics. And here what we saw America become a global superpower. Now, right now, you're either watching me, and I want to know in the comment section, right now, you're either watching me, wherever you're watching from, which province or which town or which area are you watching from? Please let me know where you are watching from. Now, wherever you're watching from, you're either using Facebook, it's an American product. Maybe you're using Twitter or X, it's an American product. Maybe you are then using TikTok. TikTok so happens to be a Chinese sort of product. But each of the phones you are using, maybe you're using an Apple phone, it's an American phone. So much of the third industrial revolution went on to go to America, where we saw America become a global superpower because they began to manufacture things. Facebook comes from there, Amazon comes from there, Twitter comes from there, Instagram comes from there, WhatsApp was bought by them. So we began to see all these things that we were using, they were coming from America. This is Industry 3.0, the third industrial revolution. Now, the one thing we see about all these industrial revolutions is that we see that the countries that took advantage of them, they became the biggest and the best in that specific area. So America became a global superpower because the third industrial revolution allowed them to have jobs. It created so many opportunities for them. So they became the biggest and the best in that day and age because they took advantage of all these industrial revolutions. Now, Africa, the internet had started. By the way, the internet is the third industrial revolution technology. It already started everywhere else, but unfortunately, it took 7 years before the internet came to South Africa. So here we are seeing that Africa has always been last when it came to development. Africa had always been last when it came. So we were first. In Mapungubia, we were first, but then we became last. Now, why did we become last? It's clear that when the colonizers came, they had another agenda. We were not last because it was impossible for us to do these things. No, our forefathers, as I said to you yesterday, were already creating, they were already mining, they were already exporting and trading overseas. They were doing all these amazing things, but the colonizers came and stopped them. The colonizers came and enslaved them. The colonizers came and they stopped them from owning the factors of production. The colonizers came and stopped them from being innovative. The colonizers came and stopped them from being the great engineers that they were. So we must correct it. Africa did not fall behind in these industrial revolutions because we're not smart enough. No, it was because Europe came and they colonized our people and turned them into slaves. And as a result of that, we were not able to develop our own land. So the lie out there is that, Africa was sleeping or Africa. No, that's a lie. They were principalities and powers that had come to our land and enslaved our people and treated them as slaves that resulted in Africa being behind. So it was planned. Africa being behind was all planned. By who? The devil is accused, number one. These powers, these principalities, these rulers of darkness, they planned it so that Africa does not get developed. How do they do it? They did it through slavery. They did it through people like John Cecil Rhodes, who came in and stopped Africans from owning minerals and mining and owning. They did it through killing people like Bambata, who refused to pay taxes to them and wanted to actually develop their communities. They did all these things to stop Africa, the giant, the leader from. If we must start there. We can't start by where are we today and what are we going to do today to fix. No, we have to start with the minds of our people to say, do you know that from the beginning, it was the devil's plan to destroy Africa? We need to start there. Before we get to understand where we are today, we must understand that there are rulers, there are principalities, there are powers, that their job was to make sure that Africans only become slaves. I'm being honest. So we have to start there. And as a result of that, once we understand that, we then understand the warfare that Arise South Africa is fighting every day. To say the warfare we are fighting is a spiritual warfare, it's a physical warfare, it's a mental warfare, because these are things and systems that demons planned over years to say the Africans must always think that they are behind, are useless. They must think that they are behind because they don't know how to think like other countries. They must believe that Africa is not developed because they must just walk around thinking that, they are incompetent. That's what the devil wants us to believe. And Arise South Africa has come on the scene. We are here to deal with those principalities, those powers, those rulers of darkness. We are going to deal with them to a point where everything that they've done, they will ensure that they pay it back so that Africa can take back its rightful glory. South Africa is the richest and the best country in the world. And that's where we should be. Now, where are we today? Let's move. We've covered the history. Now we are moving to where we are. And thank you to Pearl, who's just given us 20 rands as a donation. By the way, on YouTube, you are able to donate to what we are doing. So as we are speaking on YouTube, please make sure that you do donate. So Pearl, thank you so much for donating. We've also got Glickham, a level 1 member. Thank you so much, Glisten. We don't just watch, we donate, we interact. Even here on TikTok, I'm seeing many people sending all sorts of things because this is important. Now, where are we today? Today, we are in the 4th Industrial Revolution. What is the 4th Industrial Revolution about? Now, where we are as the 4th Industrial Revolution, let's have a look. The 4th Industrial Revolution is about smart factories. and sustainability. Smart factories and sustainability. Automation, smart systems, IoT. That means the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, virtual reality, 3D printing, focus on sustainability. So people are right when they say, but President, we can't dwell on the past because the world has moved. What are we doing today? And that's why I'm saying, you know what? We were learning the history of where we come from and what has happened. Now let's move to the present because we can't just dwell on the past and continue to say, you know what, these things happened to us and we are still there. No, we are aware of what happened. We are aware that these devils, these demons, principalities, and these powers tried to kill black people and enslave them for so many. These are spirits, by the way. And some of them are still functioning on this earth. So we need to be aware of them so that we understand who we are wrestling against. We understand who the opponent is. Now let's continue. Where are we today? We're in the fourth industrial revolution, but let's look at the setting of South Africa. And I want to start off by talking about what is the majority of South Africa. We are on page 8 of the book. For those that are following through, we are now on page 8, and I'm going to read it. It says, moreover, the majority of our population in South Africa consists of youth. It consists of youth, aged 18 and 35 years old. So the majority in our country is the youth, age 18 to age 35 years old. Now, when every country does a master plan, does a plan for the future, does any sort of thing, the youth presented. Why? Not because they are special, not because they think they are different. One simple reason, they are the majority. I want you to type in the chat box wherever you're watching. The youth are the majority. Thank you again to Tato Pearl, who has become a member, a level 1 member. Congratulations, Tato Pearl. Thank you so much. The youth are the majority. Type that in the chat box. The youth are the majority. So as a result of that, whatever happens in South Africa, the youth must be considered because they are the majority. They are the majority. So when we look in our country, the majority age of the politician in our country is 60 years old. How does that make sense? When we look at the politics in our country, the majority age of a member of parliament is 60 years old. Yet the majority in our country, the majority in, how old are they? They are 18 till 35. So it's very, very important for us to understand where we are. Very important. So there's a question I want to quickly address here. Christian Felyun says, are these demons you talk about white people or the colonizers in general? Are they demons? I was born in South Africa. I am part of your people you speak of, President. Very good question, Christian Felyun. Very good question. Now, I want to ask Felyun a question to say, people that would cut off a man's head, umbambata, and parade it in black communities to show them that if they do not obey what they are saying they should do, these people will cut off their heads and kill them. What would you call those people? Because I've decided to call them demons. That's what I've decided to call them. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. What would you call them? So that's what we are calling. We are not calling anybody a demon. We're not saying you are a demon. No. We are saying those ones, those were devils. And devils, their work was to destroy the black people in that day. So this is something we cannot hide from, Christian, unfortunately. It is the truth. And for us to continue, we must understand the truth that the actions that happened in the past, those actions were caused by the devil. And the works of evil, we are here to correct them and make sure that justice prevails for the people who were affected by those things. But let's continue. So the young people must be involved in politics. Why? They are majority. Age 18, they are the majority and they must be involved in politics. That's very, very important. Young people are beginning to realize that if they're not involved in politics, they will not have opportunities. Now, young people every day, they are going out, handing out their CVs. They are going to knock on doors. They are hungry. They are unemployed. They don't have job opportunities. They are realizing that if you don't get involved in politics, you will not have opportunities. That's what young people are realizing. And is it true? Is it true? We need to assess that. We need to look at that. Because when I wrote the book, I sat down with young people and they said, President, we've realized as young people that if we are not in politics, these people that are representing us, they will not think for us. And I mean, in South Africa, the majority unemployment is amongst the youth. Majority unemployment amongst the youth. Amongst those 60-year-olds and the pensioners that are sitting in parliament, they are not unemployed. So young people are realizing that if we don't get involved in politics, we will miss out on this. Because why? The government is the biggest spender in this country. Make no mistake. Money in this country flows from government. We made an example just the other day of understanding how much tax this government collects. It's in the trillions. And because we understood that they are actually the biggest spender, and we've realized that the money in this country is not going to the majority, which is young people. It's flying over their heads. They are just getting 350s. And the money keeps going elsewhere. So young people are saying it is enough. We are joining and we are participating in politics. And that's why we've got many young leaders in our eyes. And what are we fighting? We are fighting for our seat at the table as young people. We are saying if there's a young person who's representing us, then we know that the young person will represent the voice of the youth and what they stand for. We are in no way saying the older people, we are disrespecting them. No. We are saying that we are helping you for your children to have a future in the land. We are saying that we need you to guide and support us. We need you to mentor. We need you to fund the young people. We need you to pray for us. But we also need to start acting. And that's what we're seeing. And let me explain why it's important to have young people in government. Because a lot of people don't understand this. And I'm going to read from the book. I'm reading on page 9. The world has changed in recent years and continues to do so at a rapid pace. So when we look at where the world is today, everything changes. You know, people were using different things 5 years ago. Their jobs are no longer relevant. The syllabus is no longer relevant. Everything is changing. We now have artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, coding. Things are changing. So this presents both opportunities and challenges and requires adaptability and ability in leadership. Adaptive leadership. So young people are realizing that the 60-year-old pensioners in parliament, they are not flexible. They can't adapt to where the world is going. They are stuck in their old ways. Because the education they got over 50 years ago, it's no longer relevant. So they are still stuck in that old education that a child must go to school and learn A, B, C, D. They know when we robotics, machine learning, blockchain, when we are now saying, but schools should not be focusing on machine learning. Textbooks need to be printed on robotics. They are saying to still be printed on Romeo and Juliet. We need textbooks to still be printed on Othello. And we're saying, no, we need textbooks to be printed on artificial intelligence, on robotics. And they're saying, no, that's not what we learned. We don't. So we are realizing that we need a leadership that is adaptable and flexible. The adaptability or the ability to adapt to new challenges and think creatively and critically is now crucial. We're on page 9, those that are following. It's important to realize that both the younger and the older individuals can bring valuable perspective to leadership roles. So now we are saying, we're not saying as a Right South Africa that, you know, old people, we don't need old people, they must go away. No, we are saying that we need both. We need both perspectives. We need the young people and we need the old people to come together and work together to make our country work. So that's the prejudice of where we are starting. Remember, I just want to fill you in. I want to see how we're doing on time. All right, we've got 15 minutes, so we need to run. Remember where we started? We started by understanding the history and what actually happened. We then went on to understand who is the majority in our country, young people. We then looked at where the world is today, that we started on the first industrial revolution, how nations were built, the second one, the third one, and now we are looking at the fourth one. Now we are going into the manifesto, and we're going to start breaking everything bit by bit. If I'm going fast, it's because you didn't join us yesterday. Go back to day one so that you're able to flow with where we're going. Are you enjoying the lesson, by the way? Are you learning something? Let me know in the comment section. It also encourages me to know that what we are teaching, people are learning and they are actually engaging. Very, very encouraging. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love what people are writing and they're saying we live in a dynamic and evolving world, and so change is inevitable. Yes, that's true. In future, artificial intelligence will make politics irrelevant. That's coming. I like that. I like that very much. And I'm for that. Tato Pearl says we need ebooks. Yeah, I agree so much. So let's continue. Now, today, we are not dealing with artificial intelligence. We are not dealing with robotics. No, today we are starting off with mineral resources. We are going to be dealing with those things, but not today. Today, we are dealing with mineral resources. What I was doing is I was bringing in context to say, where did we start our history? Where is the world today? The world today is in the fourth industrial revolution. Who's the majority in South Africa? It's young people. We need them to lead together with the old. Now we are saying, right, let's assess our country. Where are we Africans? And the first point we are handling in our manifesto, we are in chapter 3 now. It is mineral resources and energy. A reminder, get a copy of the book. It's available in all bookstores, exclusive books. Make sure that if it's not there, they place an order. Now, let's read. I'm going to read from page 10. It says, let's start. Okay, it says the country, South Africa's mineral reserves are estimated to be worth 2.5 trillion US dollars. I want everybody to write that down in the comment section. Write it down. 2.5 trillion US dollars. Now, I tried to write it down in rands. It's a gazillion. When you say it in rands, you can just say a gazillion quadrillion. You can just say a gazillion quadrillion is what we have in rands in terms of minerals. So the country, they've calculated, scientists have calculated and said South Africa, in the land, in our bank account, in the land, we have 2.5 trillion US dollars worth of minerals. Remember, I said to you that we are in the top 3 richest countries in the world. And they said the top 3 richest countries in the world, they said it's the Congo, it's Russia, it's South Africa. So we are in the top 3. So we are one of them. They can't conclude as who's number 1. I think we are number 1. Now, we've got 2.5 trillion US dollars worth of minerals. Let's break it down because like this can be confusing. Let's break it down to say, South Africans, when we are now leading as a Rise South Africa, what are we going to be in charge of? What are we leading? What does this country have, right? I want us to break it down. Let's look at 2022 because statistics, when I wrote the book, the statistics for 2023 were not available. So the statistics for 2022 were available. Let's break it down and say, what did we release in 2022 in terms of minerals? What did the country release in terms of minerals? Remember, we've got 2.5 trillion US dollars worth of minerals in our land, but in a space of a year, how much minerals did we release or did we use in our country? I want us to break it down. Are we all ready? If you're ready, say yes in the comment section. Say yes in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right. So in 2022, I see all those thumbs up. South Africa produced 450 billion rands of the platinum group metals in 1 year. Or somebody thinks that this is over many years. No. Just in 2022, we produced 450 billion rands of the platinum group metals. Have we got that written down? I hope someone is taking notes for us in the comment section there. And then in 2022, we produced 78 billion rands of gold. Of gold. Have we got that? Of gold. Then we also produced 8 billion rands of coal. Ooh. Did I just say coal? Did the president just say coal? Is this the same coal that powers electricity? Is this the same coal that we ship to Europe to power their electricity and China to power their electricity? And then we produced 81 billion rand worth of iron ore. Iron ore. This is just in 1 year. And then we produced billion in other mining industries. So let's recap. We produced 450 billion worth of platinum group metals. We produced 78 billion worth of gold. We produced 88 billion worth of coal. We produced 81 billion worth of iron ore. Now, those that can do maths will be able to help me. How much do we have in reserve in total? How much are all our minerals worth in total? They are worth 2.5 US trillion dollars. They are worth, South African, we call it gazillion quadrillion. Gazillion quadrillion rand. So we produced just even less than 1%, I think. Very small. In 1 year, we just gave the world a little bit of our minerals. Just in 1 year. And what did we give? 450 billion worth of platinum, billion worth of gold, 88 billion worth of coal, 81 billion worth of iron ore, and we have not even touched our gazillion quadrillion. Imagine you are so rich. You are so rich that after giving 450 billion worth of platinum, 78 worth of gold, 88 billion worth of coal, 81 worth of iron ore, we still have gazillion quadrillion more to give. You know, sometimes I thank God to say I'm born in the best country in the world, because even after they took all these things, even after they've stolen all the minerals that have been stolen, even after some of them have been sold, even after all the corruption, we still have the 2.5 trillion US dollars worth of minerals. Do you see why they are rulers and principalities and powers and demons and devils to fight us from getting to where we need to get as a Rise South Africa? Because they know that if this 2.5 trillion US dollars was in the right hands, if it was in the right hands, everything would change. So they will fight to make sure that this never gets to the right hands. Why? They want to continue stealing or taking it or whatever they call it, buying it, because when we say they steal it, they say, no, we are buying it, up until it's finished. And the issue with having all our minerals finished is that as a country, what are we going to have to sustain what we need to do? So out of this 2.5 do you realize that we can, even just by signing offtake agreements, we can maybe get so much more money to build schools, hospitals, change the industry in our nation, build and change so many things. There's so much change we can do as a country because we have so much. Whew. I see Pumelelo says it's time for the wealth to change. It's time for the wealth to change. It's time for the wealth to change. Wow. Are you learning something? Are you learning something? Right. So let's continue. Now, mining is an essential component of our economy in South Africa, right? So in 2022, the export of all the minerals that we exported, they were worth 9.2 billion US dollars. So all those amounts that I mentioned, we exported almost all of them. we exported 9.2 billion US dollars. So this represents 6.7% of our GDP. It represents 6.7% of our GDP. So we basically exported all of them. So 9.2 billion US dollars in rands. Basically, you've got over 10 billion every day leaving our country in terms of minerals. Every day, we've got billions leaving our country in terms of minerals. Every single day. Not 1 billion, not 2 billion. How many trucks is this per day? Do you now see why our N1, we have so many trucks? Do you now see why all of this is happening? Because these people, these principalities, allow me to call them demons, because I think for me, I have to call them the way that I'll be able to address them properly. So these demons that came to Africa to steal what we had, even till they are still stealing. They are still shipping every day. Theirs is to ship. And they don't care who's in government. They just want to make sure that whoever is in government is not smart enough to stop them. Every single day, they want to continue taking. They want to continue taking. They want to continue taking. Now, currently, most of our country's resources are exported as raw materials, which earn revenue in billions of dollars for other nations. Now, if you are a parent and in your home you have a child who is hungry, your child is starving, the youth are saying unemployment is killing us. We are depressed because we are unemployed. We are hopeless because of this unemployed situation. You as a parent, would you take in and send it out to your neighbor's child while your own children in the house are hungry? How does it make sense? How does it make sense that we continue year after year? It's been 30 years of democracy. Young people are unemployed. They have no jobs. Every day we continue to ship raw materials. Not 1 billion, not 2 billion, not billions every day get shipped. How is this possible? So it's important for us to understand that these minerals, they can be used or turned into finished goods for our country, and their potential can create so many more jobs, so many more opportunities in our country. This thing can be done. The communities that these minerals get shipped from, these communities could have their nations or their communities improved by creating factories in those areas to be able to deal with these economic opportunities. And in page 11, we write, engaging with local communities to provide employment opportunities could improve the social aspect of the region while contributing to the economic development and stability. So instead of us shipping out all these raw materials, we are able to use them in these communities, create jobs and opportunities. An increase in job opportunities would help improve the lives of individuals and families in those communities. I believe I've given you a lot to deal with. And tomorrow, I'm going to break down each of the minerals, and we're going to discuss what are these minerals, because it's a sin for you to live in South Africa and not know what is in the land that you live in. No. We must correct it. If somebody wakes you up and says, what minerals do you have in South Africa? You must know the minerals. You must know the goods they are producing. You must prepare your business plan to create factories and be able to produce these things in South Africa as soon as Arise South Africa is in power. So come the 29th of May, we are preparing that day for you to say, it is you who will be producing these minerals. So we need to know. So tomorrow we'll be discussing, right, who's taking the platinum group metals? Some will be saying, President, I'll do the business plan on that one. Some will be saying, no, President, I've already. Then we move manganese. Who's going to take the manganese? Some will say, no, President, I'm going to produce that. Some will say, you know what, I'm working on the next group, vanadium. And we are going to create WhatsApp groups of young people that will begin to plan for the platinum group metals. They begin to plan for the manganese. They begin to plan for the vanadium. They begin to plan for the titanium. They begin to plan for the ferrochrome. They begin to plan for the oil. They begin to plan for the gas. They begin to plan for the uranium. They begin to plan for the jewelry markets. So tomorrow, we are releasing the WhatsApp groups that you'll be part of, where you choose to say, President, put me in the manganese. I want to specialize. And in that manganese, all that we'll be sharing is articles on manganese, information where manganese mining opportunities are, what the industry is doing. What are we doing? We are building our own machinery. That the day when we take over government and they begin to say, remember what happened in Russia. In Russia, when all the other countries said to Russia, we're going to close this, we're going to close that, they were surprised to see that the moment they closed this shop, Russians said, oh, we've got people who we were keeping in secret who are ready. They activated those people covered. So the day we say we are no longer shipping our minerals, and they'll say, no, what do? They'll be surprised. Say, no. Arise already had some groups of people that are in platinum, of people that are in manganese. Some are saying, no, give me ferrochrome. Some will be saying, give me vanadium. We are preparing an engine where in the economy, we are not like other political parties that are saying, hey, vote for us. Hey, the jobs will come from heaven. No. We create the jobs ourselves as young people. That's the way that we fight. This is our spear and our sword, because these principalities we begin today, your president will come, begin to pump you up. I'll be pumping you up every day to say, platinum, how far? How far are we with producing a platinum factory? And you'll be saying, President, this is the stumbling block. And I'll say, no, let's set up a meeting. Let's march to the head office. Let's set up a meeting with these people. And I'll be asking and say, the team working on vanadium, how far are you? They'll be saying, President, we're almost done. We've got 3 factories that we are going to open. And I'll be saying, the team on ferrochrome, how far? These are the task teams of Arise South Africa. Intelligent young people that have been to school and understand. And we've got groups that are coordinating. Every 2 weeks, we have meetings with a group where we now have the chairperson of the platinum group metals in South Africa. And that chairperson is saying, President, we've got 10 factories we've identified. And I'm saying, wonderful, chairperson, this is good. And the manganese group, we are not going to be talking about tenders to do pit toilets and to do, no, nonsense. We are going to be talking about how we are going to use what we have, what we've been given, to be able to boost our economies, to be able to grow. So the jobs we create them ourselves, and we're going to make sure that we're in on that industry, up structures. People will be asking and say, I've never heard of a political party that is a chairperson of the platinum group metals. And we say we are different. That's the way that we are. And that chairperson will be saying, right, this is the plan we are presenting to the president. President, this is what we are doing. The moment we get into government, oh, they'll be shocked. They won't know what hit them, because we begin to action. We action everything. We action everything. We action everything. What are the days where we have WhatsApp groups where people just come in the WhatsApp group, just sharing memes and sharing? No, not at Arise South Africa. Here, they have got a vision and a purpose. They are industry driven. We are specifically creating the strongest force that this nation has ever seen, where young people are coming together and they're saying, look, we have an engine, which is a political party. We know that the government will not stop us because we are the ones that are behind it. And we are pushing these jobs. We are rising. We are rising. We are arising in every industry. So I want you to do me one big favor. Share this with as many people as possible. Warn them to say, tomorrow the president has said that we're going to create the groups based on what? The minerals. Based on the minerals. So in these groups that you'll be in, you need to be knowledgeable, because others will be sharing to say, no. President, the gas that we've got, We are going to build 4 terminals. And I'll be saying, okay, where are the terminals? And they say, no, we've got a master plan on the terminal. We are not waiting for the government to call us the government of the day. No, we will do it even before they call us the government of the day. They will find us already in action. It is time for Africa to arise and become the great, mighty eagle. We are already starting. We are not going to wait for the election day, wait for somebody to no. Those are things that we are finalizing. On the election day, we are just ticking a box just to stamp what we've already begun. The traction starts now. The movement starts now. The action starts now. We prepare and we build from now. So the work has begun. So we are going to begin. So the groups, we've got a platinum group metals, we've got a manganese group, we've got a vanadium group, we've got a titanium group, we've got a chrome group, we've got an oil WhatsApp group, we've got a gas WhatsApp group, we've got a uranium WhatsApp group, we've got a jewelry market WhatsApp group. These are all Arise South Africa WhatsApp groups that are specifically dealing with different industries. So in those groups, it's going to be a group that is going to be very strict. Number 1, you are a member of Arise, of course. Number 2, you are in the industry. And in those groups, we begin to plan. We begin to set goals. We begin to do the work. Why are we doing this? What are we asking? Anyone with their Rise WhatsApp group, please share. It will be shared. What are we doing? The mighty eagle has begun. The mighty eagle has begun. Oh, they won't know what hit them. They won't know what they'll just be shocked on election day where they see this group of people that are saying, no, we've already started. They'll be asking themselves to say, but we thought politics is about singing and dancing. Why is this president talking about platinum? They'll be asking themselves to people that are militant, that are agreeing, no. If the platinum industry does not change, there will be no rest in our nation. They'll be saying, but these people are in government. These people, what type of people are they? Are they politicians? Are they business people? What do you call them? These are Africans. This is what it means to be Africans. We come from a lineage where in Mapengubie, before the Europeans began the first industrial revolution, our forefathers were mining. They were creating gold and iron. We come from a lineage of those that are wiser than the world has ever seen. It's the time for Africa to take its rightful place, and we are doing so. All those ones, we are putting them together to say, no, come together. We are creating. Woo! My goodness, I'm excited. I'm unfortunately out of time. 8 o'clock, we've got a meeting with the Arise South Africa Secretary General, but I hope you are ready. Share this with as many people as possible. Make sure you share it. We won't share the WhatsApp groups yet. They will be shared tomorrow. So tomorrow, come prepared to get involved. Somebody's already saying, put me in. That's the jewelry group. That's the jewelry market group. So we will all be there. Leaders of Arise South Africa, we've got a meeting now at 8 o'clock with the Secretary General of Arise South Africa. So let's jump onto that meeting. Thank you so much for coming through. We look forward to growing and making sure that we grow this formidable force. I'm telling you, come the 29th of May, 2024, they will be shocked. They won't see us coming. They don't know that there's a majority government that is brewing so strongly. They'll be so shocked when we get on the scene. They won't even know how we. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, by the time we are done, it will be something else. So I look forward to it. We're also going to appoint leaders of each of these metal groups that will be leading these metal groups and will ensure that those chairpersons will be known. So what we are starting is bigger than a union. It's bigger than what we are starting is we are setting forth the correct structure for how Africa is going to function. So thank you so much for tuning in. See you all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Arise, South Africa. Arise.